Josh Hasten here, Israel Uncensored, on the Land of Israel Network at thelandofisrael.com for Monday, the 9th of September, 2019, the 9th also of the month of Elul, 5779. Hope you're doing well in your part of the world. Don't forget, you can always get in touch with me, Josh at thelandofisrael.com. On Facebook, it's Joshua Hasten, or Josh Hasten, Israel Advocacy and Journalism. That is my page. On Twitter, at Josh Hasten, and on Instagram as well. Now, yesterday I was at a conference sponsored by the Middle East Forum and their Israel Victory Project. It was held in Ramat Gan near Tel Aviv, and this was a gathering of politicians, academics, IDF soldiers, former IDF soldiers, some top-ranked soldiers, by the way, all different types of people from a broad spectrum on the political scale, if you will, getting together to discuss what it means for Israel to achieve victory over its enemies. The Israel Victory Project started about 3 years ago to steer U.S. policy toward backing in Israel victory over the Palestinians. That's the text here that I'm reading. To resolve the Arab-Israeli conflict, this new paradigm seeks to convince those Arabs that the Jewish state will endure. So I'm going to play some clips now of the different people I spoke to at the Israel Victory Project conference just yesterday. I'm here in Ramat Gan, Israel, at a conference run by the Middle East Forum. This is the Israel Victory Project, and the director of the Middle East Forum in Israel is my good friend Danny Seaman here at the conference. And Danny, if you can't tell me what the goals are of today's event, what are we doing here in Ramat Gan, Kfar Maccabiah?
Well, this is a continuation of our efforts over the past few months, past few years, but particularly in the past few months, because of the heightened election spirit going on and political atmosphere in Israel, that we wanted to focus on our concept of an Israel victory as a way of resolving the conflict here in the Middle East. And so we thought that by having a conference, having a debate, we want to encourage the discussion by all elements of Israeli political spectrum to discuss this issue of how, and what we found to be, but a lot of Israelis share our sentiment that the Arab side has to accept the fact that Israel has been victorious and they've lost and put down their weapons, and only then can we start discussing what is the resolution for this conflict here in the Middle East. So by doing this in a conference, we're bringing Israelis from all different parts of the Israeli political spectrum, bringing them together to discuss the issues of Israel Victory Project.
So, Israel Victory Project's now been around for a couple of years, I think. 3 years or so. So what new can we expect from what's going on today in terms of the presenters and what information they're sharing right now on stage?
Well, what's happened up until now in the past few years, we've been concentrating on the political echelon. We didn't have in the past few months because there has been no political echelon, but we had a lobby in the Knesset from all different members of the Zionist Israeli political parties, and we concentrated on that. What we've done in the past year, and especially in the past 6 months, has been to focus on increasing the debate in the Israeli society. That is through use of media, through use of public platforms, and here is the first time that we're actually having a forum of Israelis from different political aspects, academic, politicians themselves, security, and discussing and debating the issues that are important to the Israel Victory Project.
That's Danny Seaman, a longtime friend and the director of the Middle East Forum's Israel office here. Stay tuned for more.
My name is Michiko Tamia. I'm a former general in the Israeli military. My last assignment, I was the commander of the Gaza division.
And your message here today at the Israel Victory Project, you were just on the panel. Tell me in English what your message was in terms of how you see this movement going forward, the whole concept of Israel declaring victory over its enemies.
I would say, like many Israelis, I believe that Israel has to move from deterrence to victory. And this can be done against terror organizations like Hezbollah and Hamas. And as long as they grow their force, they arm themselves, the danger to the state of Israel is growing with them. and deterrence is not enough to stop this process.
Regardless of politics, it doesn't, we're right here before election, but to me, I don't want to talk to you about politics, but regardless of who you think will be the next prime minister, or if he's able to form a coalition or not, are you optimistic that a policy change can actually be put into place where Israel is able to achieve such a victory that you speak of?
I have no special political knowledge, so I can't help you with that question. I think it's not a political question. It's a matter of Israel survival in this neighborhood, and it doesn't matter from what side of the map, of the political map you come. The important thing is the security of Israel, and the threat around us, the Islamic threat, is growing. And in some cases, we have to utilize more force in order to stop it and to defend Israel. And it has, I think at least, nothing to do with politics.
So more force both in the north, both in the south, against all our enemies?
No, it has to be smartly, but at a certain point we cannot accept not the arms, not the tactics that these organizations, which are not states, these are terror organizations which live under the umbrella of Lebanon in the case of Hezbollah, and do whatever they like, arm themselves, and hold no responsibility whatsoever to the people of their country. So this is the easiest state or situation for a terror organization, and they are taking advantage of it, and it's becoming more and more dangerous. And I think the question that was raised here today is, should we move from deterrence to a more active role against this organization? And I believe it has to be considered, at least in the near future in Israel, more carefully than till now.
Greg Roman, Director, Middle East Forum.
So tell me about the purpose of today's event, today's conference, the Israel Victory Project. What are we've been introduced to the Israel Victory Project before, but what is so special about today?
Sure. So we've had articles that have gone out, conferences that have taken place in the past, but I think this is the first time where there has been these really in-depth discussions, debates, analyses which have been going on, which focus on both the moral, the political, and also the military and strategic ways in which victory is defined. Not in terms of the global academic terms, Clausewitz, or focusing on Sun Tzu, but on the way in which Israeli professionals and those who have been responsible for making decisions of both life and death, war and peace, and conflict, both describing it like we saw in the last panel with the media, but also those politicians who are going to be sitting in the security cabinet for the next 4 years after these elections, if we have a government takes place. But the ways in which they see their vision of the conflict. And I think this election has been missing conversations, the Knesset Omek, to be able to have a very specific discussion on their policy vis-a-vis the Palestinians, and bringing them to the point that if we continue this generational deluge of being able to then I think that that's what we're trying to focus on today.
And what have you heard so far today, something that stands out in terms of your organization's goals in the Arabs who live here, understanding that they've been defeated and that they should recognize that openly, and we can move forward from there?
So it's not the recognition of defeat in the traditional military sense. It's like we won, they lost. No. What it means is that the way in which they see themselves in the world is not one in which sees the world without Jews, where they see themselves existing not as a dual nationality, but only Palestinian nationality. And Palestinian nationalism right now is based on the negation of Jewish nationalism or Zionism. The idea here is that once the Palestinians abandon their rejectionist ambitions, which is based on the idea that Jews shouldn't be here, then they can maybe start developing their own economy, polity, society, culture that's not based on rejecting someone else's. So when they get to that point and the government here is willing to adopt that stance, and then the United States, which is the second half of our project, backs the Israeli government position, that's when we'll find ourselves, I think, in a way to break the status quo.
And just lastly, briefly, you were talking about some of the PR that you guys have been doing, which has gotten a lot of it's got a lot of publicity in terms of call them stunts, call them antics, whatever you want to call them, but really to draw attention to what you're trying to achieve. Just describe maybe one or two of those campaigns.
So these activities have been an invitation to start a deeper debate across all strata of Israeli society, not just doing something to get attention, to get headlines, a little bit of media favoritism, but to really start a conversation. When someone sees the word victory on a billboard on the Ayalon Highway, they will go home there later that night, or when they're on their way to work, they'll talk with their colleagues. On the way they're back home, on their way home from work, they'll talk with their family about it, or even around the Shabbat table. What exactly was the head of Hamas doing in swimwear in the middle of the Ayalon Highway? And what does that mean?
Translate that.
Stop being afraid. We demand Israel victory. What exactly is victory? And then they go into Google, and then they type it, and they see our articles that come up, or they go to our website, or go to our social media, or they see articles by myself or by Daniel Pipes. It's a way in which to take some oxygen away from the daily ins and outs of the political squabbles that are going on here, and maybe to focus on something that requires a deeper level of analysis.
Just to explain, the head of Hamas wearing a Speedo, and the point of that was?
The point of that was that he's living the Chaim Dvash. He's having the great life on the shores of Gaza when Israelis are suffering in the south. And it's as absurd a situation to see him on a highway in that wear as it is with the current status quo with the way Gaza is being treated right now, both by this government, but also governments going all the way back to 1993.
Got it. Thank you so much, and keep up all the good work you do.
Thank you, Josh.
Naftali Bennett, former Minister of Education, running for Knesset.
Israel's victory means taking away the capability of our enemies to harm us, because I'm not working on their motivations. I don't think there's anything that we can do to make them accept us or want us. We have to defeat them, and then they will understand that we're here to stay forever. And we have to disarm them from the ability to hurt us. That's what we're doing today in Syria. That's what we did not do yet in Gaza, and what we're going to have to do in Gaza.
You're optimistic that this is going to happen?
Netzach Yisrael lo yishaker. We've been around for almost 4,000 years, these folks, just a few decades, and we're going to win.
And there you have it from the Israel Victory Project Conference yesterday. In other news, according to the Jerusalem Post, the IDF struck a terrorist cell in southern Gaza after a drone dropped an IED on a military position along the border fence on Saturday. No troops were injured. There was damage to IDF vehicles. This comes after Israel struck several Hamas posts in the northern Gaza Strip on Friday night after terror groups launched 5 rockets towards Israeli communities. Thank God no injuries reported, but there were sirens in Sderot and other communities. 2 people treated for shock, but as we know, every time a rocket is launched, there is damage which is done to the local population down there. It's been going on for 19 years. A small fire broke out after one of the rockets hit an open area near Sderot. It's business as usual with more Friday armed terrorists trying to infiltrate. Talking about Hamas, of course, and other terror gangs trying to infiltrate into Israel. One such terrorist caught with several knives on him, and the goal is to find the nearest Jew and murder them. And God bless the IDF soldiers who are down there 24/7, keeping us safe from these evil, evil people. And speaking of evil, the Palestinian Authority, according to Palestinian Media Watch, has paid almost 3.3 million shekels in financial rewards to the Hamas terrorists who carried out 2 suicide attacks on September 9th, 2003, one at a bus stop near Asaf HaRofeh Hospital, and another at Jerusalem's Cafe Hillel. I remember that. I was just a few blocks away from that horrible attack, which claimed the lives of Dr. David Applebaum and his daughter Nava the night before her wedding. So according to those calculations done by Palestinian Media Watch, the PA raising the salary of those involved in that attack, the belt makers of those suicide bombs, they are getting a raise to about 7,000 shekel per month. That is the Pay for Slay program. It is alive and well and functioning, rewarding those who have murdered Jews. And of course, it's on a scale. The more Jews you hurt, the more money you make. The more Jews you maim, murder, the more harm you do, the more money you make. And this is happening just right in front of our eyes. Pay for Slay program there from our so-called peace partners in the Palestinian Authority. I say send them on a one-way ticket out of here. And, of course, we try to finish the show with some positive news. Israel baseball. Israel, the baseball team, the national baseball team for Israel, trying to qualify for the 2020 Tokyo Olympics. They had a big victory over the Czech Republic just the other day, 6-1, and they were scheduled to play Sweden to continue on their journey to try to make the 2020 Tokyo Olympics. We wish them the best of luck. That would be unbelievable if Israel was able to send a baseball team to represent this country in next summer's Olympics. And that's going to do it for today. For the 9th of September, 2019, my name is Josh Hasten. This is Israel Uncensored on the Land of Israel Network at thelandofisrael.com. Get in touch with me, Josh, at thelandofisrael.com on Facebook, Joshua Hasten, or Josh Hasten Israel Advocacy and Journalism on Twitter at Josh Hasten, and on Instagram as well. Big shout out to Benjamin Bresky for all the work he does to get these shows up, as well as Tabitha Epstein for everything that she does behind the scenes. Most importantly, between now and when we speak again, please God, next week, everyone out there in the wonderful world of ours, be safe. Shalom, shalom, from a beautiful, beautiful day here in the land of Israel.
I call for a vote.
I'm not voting for her.
Only an idiot would vote for me.
Well, I didn't vote for you.
Who cares about this stupid election?
In this Meshuggah, you should know who to vote for.
What's going on behind the scenes as Israelis prepare to go to the polls on September 17th? Tune in to Inside Israel Today on the Land of Israel Network on thelandofisrael.com for all the action as it happens.
If you vote for me, all of your wildest dreams will come true.